what brought about
Yeah.
your interest in this subject?
Okay.
That's a better question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. So I've worked with China for almost 20 years. I first went to China as a college student in 2005 and never thought this was going to be the trajectory of my life. But the Lord has kind of just kept me in it. And it's a real honor to have been doing this. But yeah, so basically I worked in ministry with Chinese students, both in China and in the US for a really long time. And then about 10 years ago, I was recruited by an organization that works with house churches across house churches across China. And they basically came to me and said, these guys have so much to say. They have so much to teach us. We really believe that, as much as we are working to help equip them, they have something to say back to us. They have a lot to be teaching those outside of China. And so I always like to write. And I think I had like a personal blog, but I had been working with Chinese for a long time. And so they asked me to start a blog for them. And I did. And we had a lot to figure out. It was it took a long time to figure out how to find the right people within China to work with, who wanted to write, who wanted to have their thoughts, shared with the rest of the world. And we had to start a translation team, which they are not unsung because I sing their praises all the time, but they are the real heroes of the work because no one wants me to translate large materials or large quantities of Chinese material. But we have this just incredible translation team, and they work really faithfully, using their gifts to help bring content out from China. So we had started this, we'd had some success, and a mutual contact got in touch with me and said that Wang Yi had compiled this House Church manifesto, and he wanted it to be translated and shared with those outside of China. And I had very little faith at that point, and I thought, I don't know how to do that, and I don't really know, who would be interested in this in terms of publishing. And we kind of had to just sit on it for a while, but we kept translating other pieces of his and other content from him. And then essentially, after he was arrested, we thought, well, this is just done now. This is not going to go anywhere. But in 2020, we had a conversation with IVP, and they were really interested. And so we were able to move ahead with compiling this book. And so how this worked out is I compiled it, and I'm the one who wrote all the introductions to the different sections. And my co-editor, JD, is the one who really helped with most of the footnoting, especially concerning points of Chinese history or Chinese culture. And so it was a really good partnership between us to be able to help contextualize this book for a North American audience, so that those who don't understand China or know a lot about China can pick it up off the shelf and have what they need, I think, to be able to dive into what Wang Yi is talking about.
I thought you did a really good job of bringing that out, because even when I read Aikman's book, and it's been, I don't know, maybe 20 years, you helped us to see the issues that were at work with the three self movement, and bringing out Wang's writing and why that was important. Because I remember reading Aikman's book, and he was much more sympathetic to it then, and people getting involved in it. And Wang is not. He's not at all sympathetic, because he sees it as really a compromise, compromising the gospel at its essence, because it's the government that puts itself over Christ, rather than Christ being the head of the government, and it's restricting their movements. It's appointing pastors for them. They're much more skilled in socialism, and really interpreting everything through the Bible through this lens. And as it went on, though, reading his words, and it's not just him. You have other writers that are in here too. Jen Tianming.
Correct. Yeah.
Pronounce it for me.
Yeah. Jean so it would be Tianming, Jean Tianming. It's kind of like, think of it as like Jen.
Jean. And then I see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 other people, I think, that you've cited besides Wang. These are all leaders within the House Church movement.
Yeah. So the first third of the book, that is the manifesto that Wang Yi compiled, and that's his writings with writings from these other pastors in Beijing. And essentially they wouldn't all agree on everything, but they have a lot of consensus between them on the house church's relationship to the state church. And so they worked together to compile this. And then the next 2/3 of the book are compiled by myself, consulting with various people who knew Wang Yi, know Wang Yi, and were able to help say, yeah, these are the most important writings